What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to Lambo Speak, episode number 8. I can't believe we're 2 months into this thing already. Uh,
All right.
we're that much closer to the season. So uh, I'm Nate. You can find me on Twitter at Nate_Dirt19. Of course, I'm joined by the one and only Bobby Winters. You can find him on Twitter at Bobby A. Winter. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good, man. Like you said, training camp's going to start soon. I can't wait for football to start. Honestly, I think this is the most excited I've been for football to start in quite some time. Like I'm excited every year, but this year's different. Like brand new system or brand new quarterback. It should be exciting.
Heck yeah, it's a new horizon, so it's going to be fun. Before we get going, this is a Toilets to Titles production. You can find the show on Twitter at Toilets to Titles. You can find all of our content, articles, mock drafts, rankings, both sides of the ball. They just released our redraft rankings. It's all on the website, toiletstitles.com, so please check that out. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. We would appreciate that. And the little bell to know when we're going live. It's pretty much every day there's something live, so check that out. Also, check out our sister nation for all your college football needs, CFB Nation. They are pumping out content nonstop as well. Please check them out. And throw us an Apple Podcasts, iTunes review if you would. And last thing before we get going, if you want to interact with us, whether one of us or anybody else with our 5 team-specific shows, or anything NFL, fantasy football related, or college football now, you can get into our Gilded chat with us. We're also running a ton of mock drafts. Reach out to myself, Bobby, or Coach Sheps, and we'll get you in there. So did a redraft mock Sunday night. I think they'll start getting more hot and heavy with those. It was fun to get one of those with the guys on the show. They did the live show on Sunday night and did the mock draft on there. So it's kind of fun to see. So before I guess we get going, Bobby and I were talking earlier today kind of about the whole running back market with everything that went down basically over the weekend, I guess, with a couple dominoes not falling, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird. I was more hopeful that they would reach agreements. I like seeing the guys play. I hope people aren't going to hold out. I don't know. I guess what I'm talking about is Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley did not reach long-term deals by 3:00 Monday. So they have to play on a franchise tag, which is just over $10 million this year. And obviously they both want paid. And I think Tony Pollard didn't reach a long-term deal either, but he had already signed his. So he's going to play on the franchise tag. But, and if you went on Twitter, McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, there was a ton of guys saying stuff about it. What do you think about it, Bobby?
Yeah, the running backs definitely made their positions known on Twitter. It seemed like every star running back was commenting on it. And, a lot of people in the media were talking about it too, because it seems like the position the value of the position has changed over the last decade. You remember in the early 2000s and even before that, you had a bell cow running back, a running back that you would give 25 to 30 carries to, but that's just not how the NFL is played anymore. And the Packers are a perfect example of that. The position, in all honesty, it's kind of become too replaceable. I think that since the CBA in 2011, because before that, the running backs were able to negotiate deals earlier on their rookie contracts. They were able to do it after 2 years. Now, with the current CBA rules, you have to wait until you've been in your contract for 3 years. So being that the running back position has a shorter lifespan than than most of the other positions in the NFL, they're most valuable when they're younger, when they have the least amount of miles on their legs. So they were capitalizing on their payday much sooner before the 2011 CBA than they are now. And it seems like, running back is probably the position that's most ready to start coming out of college. And you've seen a lot of teams over the recent years, do just that. They'll throw rookie running backs or running backs that are still on their rookie deals in there, and they're having great success. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs just won the Super Bowl with a 7th-round running back.
Yeah, no doubt. I think, I was just trying to think too, besides the CBA, like the reasoning that, and you don't want to say that, oh, I think they're more ready now, because regardless of position, it feels like the guys are more ready coming out of college, maybe besides tight end, of course, because it seems like they're always a little slow to the, punch. But, I, besides the Titans, there's about the only team I can think of that runs the ball a ton. The Eagles do too, but they run it's a committee deal, and the quarterback running a lot too. But it's like they're maybe the way the defense is played has changed things too. I think maybe make things a little easier for the running back, perhaps. And I could be completely wrong, but it just feels like that they're facing a lighter box more often now. That since it's kind of a pass happy league, that the guys are sitting back a little bit. Maybe they're not, generally not. I don't want to say they're not facing a 4-man front. You know what I mean? But it seems like that maybe that has something to do with it. The zone scheme. Run scheme helps too. Those ones seem like the teams that can really plug and play almost any position, really. But like the running back, like you look at the 49ers when they go on a run and they seem like they're always getting guys hurt out there. But it's like, they got 4 or 5 guys on the lineup or on the roster that can play the position.
Right.
So it's kind of weird. It'd be fun to look at, really, really in depth and see if there is something to that, or if I'm just kind of guessing on that. But that's just, in my opinion, kind of how it feels to me, more recently than I can remember anyways.
No, you're right. I mean, you made a couple of really good points there, like especially one with the defenses. It seems like the too high shell for the safeties is like in vogue right now. So when you have the safeties playing out, trying to prevent the big play, you don't have a safety in the box anymore. And like you said, it creates a lighter box. So teams are starting to take advantage of it and running the ball more. It seems like offenses, it's kind of cyclical that, you used to run the ball a lot. Then the pass happy, era came, and now they're trying to prevent the big pass play. And now it's easier to run the ball than it ever has been. But the other thing that you had mentioned too about a lot of the offenses playing, the Shanahan system, with the outside zone, and it's spread like rapid fire or wildfire in the NFL. I mean, so many teams now run some variation of that system. But I mean, when you think about it with like Kyle Shanahan and even his father, like one of the big jokes was it didn't matter who you had at running back, that the system, you would have a 1,000-yard rusher with anybody playing back there, And I think teams are starting to realize that as well, because over the last 10 years, instead of just having one bell cow running back and paying them, they're switching to having a committee. And the Packers are no exception to that. They have 2 really good running backs right now. But you can get away with paying them a lower cost, whether they're both on rookie contracts or you have one star and then one who's on a rookie contract, as opposed to making them one of the highest paid players on your offense. The exceptions obviously are, I mean, like there are some players in the league that are the faces of their franchise, like Derrick Henry, Adrian Peterson back in the early 2000s. But the problem with that is if Derrick Henry goes down or if Adrian Peterson goes down, the offense isn't the same. They're a shell of themselves. It's like going out with one star wide receiver and a bunch of scrubs behind them. Well, what happens when that star wide receiver goes down? The offense doesn't operate right. So I think teams are now just starting to realize the benefit of having depth and not throwing all of your eggs into one basket like they used to do back in the day.
Yeah, no doubt. I think you can put some of that too towards just the sheer size of some of the guys too. There's some big dudes, laying the hammer on both sides of the ball, so it seems like guys get faster and bigger, and obviously the hits come and the injuries, not that guys are getting hurt more frequently, but it definitely takes a toll on their body, especially some of the guys coming out of college, and I love Jonathan Taylor, but that dude ran the ball a ton in college, and it seemed like, he hit the ground running, and I hope, I love watching Jonathan Taylor. I hope he's got has another great year in store, but you wonder if it's only maybe, that's how some teams look. It's like, well, hey, let's get 4 years, maybe 5 years out of a guy. and if we're still looking good, then that's great. And I mean, when Aaron Jones signed his deal, was it this year he took a pay cut, which helped things out. But he wanted to stay in Green Bay. But there's a handful of guys I don't see just as just a running back. I know a lot of running backs can catch the ball out of the backfield, but to me, like Aaron Jones, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, those guys, like they're like a weapon, man, and they can do so many different things that to me is invaluable, especially with a younger quarterback. You got to have a guy that can block. He can he can run the ball. I mean, Aaron Jones, hell, you can put him in the slot, you can line him up out wide, it doesn't matter. And he can have a good effect on the offense. So it's the game's obviously changed, and you're every year you're excited to see where it goes, but it's the words are escaping me. Like, it's frustrating to see the guys that are waiting there, and it's easy for me to say, oh, just take the $10 million. But I get it.
Right.
Like I said, I want everybody to get paid. I always say salary cap's not a real thing anyways, but there's some teams that they don't pay them, regardless. And it may not even just be the running back position, that they don't want to pay the big, they don't want to have all that money locked up in one position, and they may be luckily, they may be lucky enough to not have a big big contract for the quarterback if they're on a rookie deal or wherever the case may be. But, it just seems like that's the way things are going. I know I'm trying to think of the big running backs that got deals this offseason, not necessarily stayed with the team, but went somewhere else in free agency. Miles Sanders is probably one of the big ones. I don't think David Montgomery got a real big, he didn't sign for a ton of money. Miles Sanders was like 4 years, $25 million, right?
Right. But I mean, relative to some of the running back contracts that have been signed, I mean, that's not a lot.
No, it's nothing.
You have Aaron Jones that was averaging 12 a season. Dalvin Cook, who was averaging about 12 a season. Zeke with the cautionary tale of a contract was making 15. But now you're starting to see running back sign for $6 million, $7 million. He signed with the Lions for $6 million a year. Montgomery, thank you. So I mean that you're starting to see like NFL positions, like obviously the salary cap is rising, but the positions are kind of like stocks where they rise and fall in value. I mean, look at the wide receiver position. Over the last couple of years, the value of that position has blown up. It seemed like that one off season when Adams got paid and Tyreek got paid, it was just like Christian Kirk. I mean, Christian Kirk, it was like when you saw his contract, you're like, he's worth how much?
I remember seeing that and I was like, what the hell? I was like,
unbelievable.
That can't be right. Like, what are they doing? Like, that, and he's played well. Good for him. Like I said, I want everybody to get paid. I don't care who it is, but that was a wild one to see. But you don't know, in everything you read about Saquon that they were this close, they were that close, like, were they really that close? And I've never had $1 million, so I can't say that if I got offered $12 million, but I wanted $14 million, like, were we going to meet in the middle? Right. I don't know. And when I look at the quarterback part of the whole deal, when that franchise tag thing, that almost feels like the beginning of the end a lot of times.
Right.
Not with everybody, but it just feels like when it's a high profile guy that, deserves a big paycheck, again, I'm not saying people don't, but it feels like sometimes that's like the beginning of the end. It's like, oh, we're going to marriage counseling. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but it kind of feels that way to me.
No, I completely agree. And you'll see that teams that are well-run teams like the Packers, like the Steelers, they hardly ever use the franchise tag because they don't need to. Some teams use the tag as a weapon, as something in their arsenal. But the Packers don't do. I mean, the Packers literally over the last 10 years, they've only used it just to tag and trade Devontae Adams. That's it. Like they get contracts done. They take care of their own players, and we'll get into it a little bit later, but Aaron Jones is a perfect example of that. But before we do that, I wanted to bring up a point I was thinking about earlier. There was a tweet by Albert Breer And so it kind of relates to the running back market because no running back makes over $20 million a year, right? But there are plenty of players that do. So currently there's 56 guys in the league right now that make over $20 million a year. Half of them, more than half of them, are quarterbacks and wide receivers. So there's 17 quarterbacks and 13 wide receivers that make over $20 million a year. The rest of them are 9 interior defensive linemen, 7 edge guys, 5 offensive tackles, 2 corners, 2 guards, 1 inside linebacker. So it kind of shows you where these teams are looking to spend their money. They're prioritizing their offensive line, they're prioritizing their pass catchers, which means they're not prioritizing the run game. And it could be argued that if a team believes that their line is elite, that all you need is a serviceable running back to get the job done, a la what they were doing with the Broncos, in the Shanahan system back in the 90s. And it's not to say that good running backs don't have value, because they do. I mean, there's some very special players in the league, like CMC, Derrick Henry, Saquon. I mean, it's funny that Saquon's one of them right now because, he's going through the negotiations, but Saquon is the face of the Giants right now. He is their offense. Everything ran through Saquon, especially in the first half of their season. So how weird would it be to see Saquon on a different team? Like, it would be so weird.
It's, I mean, to me, when with like Dalvin Cook, him being on a different team is going to be very weird.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was just like, and this is what my next point is, it's the cautionary tale. It's the one running back contract that, or holdout that everybody's going to point to of when they're saying, Saquon and Josh Jacobs might be making a mistake right now. It's the Le'Veon Bell situation. So Lev Bell held out. He didn't play. All of a sudden he signed with the Jets after he took a year off, and he was never the same, because he wasn't on the same team. He wasn't on a team that knew how to use him right. He wasn't on a team that valued him the same way that the Steelers did. And honestly, if he had stayed with the Steelers, he probably would go in the Hall of Fame because he was that good with the Steelers. He was unbelievable. But, he did what a lot of running backs have done over the last 10 years, and they got aggressive in their contract negotiations almost because they have to. They can't leave any money off the table because the odds of a running back signing a third contract are just so rare nowadays. Honestly, it's getting rare for them to sign a big second contract. So they have to try to make the most with this. They know that the second contract is going to be where they make the most money. So they have to try to get every single dollar they can. And, like you said, everybody should get paid. And I'm all for them trying to get every single dollar that they think that they're worth. But the problem is the league just doesn't view the position that way anymore. And you see it with some of the recent contracts that were signed. I mean, Dalvin Cook got cut. Even Aaron Jones had to take a pay cut just to stay with the team. And he probably saw what the market looks like right now and realized that if he left the Packers, he probably wasn't going to get as much money as if he were to stay. And, that kind of leads me to another thing. It's like, the team that drafted you and the team that you've played for is probably usually the team that values you the most. That's not saying that you can't leave and find more money elsewhere. Tons of people do. But with the running back position, especially because it's a position that touches the ball so much, it's a position that scores a lot of touchdowns. It almost seems like it's unfair, or just like not reality, that the guy who scores all the touchdowns and the guy who touches the ball the most isn't the one who makes the most money. Obviously the quarterback does, but you would think, I have an Aaron Jones jersey, I have an Eddie Lacy jersey, because they score the touchdowns, man. They're awesome to watch, but it's just not what it is.
Yeah. And I don't know, if there is an answer. And we both said it earlier, with the teams just rotating guys in and out, and with talking about the Shanahan offense back in the, with the Broncos, that doesn't matter who it is, he'll rush for 1,000 yards. And, it's, those guys have been so good, the good ones, but the guys that are, I don't want to call them mediocre, but, a serviceable running back has been good enough. In my opinion, the only team that, has been better than maybe they're better than you thought they'd be, would be the Titans, just because of Derrick Henry. And somehow he continues to just be on another level.
Yeah.
It's wild that somebody's body can withstand, the amount of, punishment he puts it through in a season. But
for sure,
I don't know if, in my opinion, I think it's just, this is the way it's going to be. And, I don't know what I looked for, and I can't remember now. Like with the CBA, what it says, I don't think, holding out doesn't do anything for the player besides lose them money. And,
right.
They don't really have a leg to stand on, unfortunately.
Right.
And I think that was part of the new CBA, that they didn't want guys, obviously they want the guys to play, and so do we, but I'm not a law expert, so I'm not going to try to get into that whole deal. But, it's easy for me and you to sit here and be like, just play,
right. And it sucks because, like, part of you want to see them play. We love to watch Saquon play. Like, he's electrifying. He was great last year. We want to see him play. We don't want to see him hold out. Like, we didn't want to see Le'Veon Bell hold out. But you had made a good point earlier about the serviceable running back thing. So, like, the Packers, when they won their Super Bowl, they won it with a serviceable running back. They won it with James Starks playing.
Yeah.
It was 7th round rookie running back. Just like the Chiefs did last year. So, like, you'll see that a lot of the teams, especially like over the recent years that have won Super Bowls, they weren't paying their running backs a lot. As a matter of fact, the one recent one where they actually were, like, not on their rookie contract was in 2021 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They signed Leonard Fournette, but that year he was only making $3.25 million a year, which, is low even for a second contract for a running back. After the Super Bowl, of course, he signed that larger contract, but the year that they won, he was only making $3.25.
And now he's on the street.
Now he's on the street because he signed that large contract.
And got all the money up front, and then they're
for sure.
Hey, before we go on real quick, I do want to talk about our Patreon. I noticed a bunch of guys joined today, so if you're out there listening or whatever, thank you so much. We do appreciate your support. I know somebody joined and got the tier that gets the episode breaking down their league, and I'm really excited to listen to it. I think that's the first one that we've had that for, and it'll just be a lot of fun to watch, listening to other people break down that league. So I'm excited for that. But if you do want to check it out, patreon.com/toilets to titles. We got any questions? If you have any questions, feel free to hit us up. There is a couple spots left in the listener league. I know one of the tiers for Patreon gets you a free entry into that. So check it out. Let us know. We'd be more than happy to help you out, and it's pretty cheap to get in there. So let us know. But back to where we were. I don't know. I expected Josh Jacobs to, kind of get ran into the ground with his deal. It almost seems like Saquon's the big name, and I don't know if part of it is. And Joe, don't be mad at me when I say this, but they paid Daniel Jones a lot of money, which is good for him. And I think Daniel Jones is the quarterback for him. There wasn't another quarterback out there for them to sign that was going to, keep things going how they are. Did they overpay him? Sure. No, I don't. I think it was fine. I don't think he didn't get a ton. It's a little higher than I expected, but I don't think it was something that was, that ties their hands forever. But it's the same thing. And I know it was Michael Lombardi that said it. And I know I saw Joe on Twitter going at it, that does it make the locker room mad when the guys see, and I don't know if it would make somebody mad, but when they see the one guy get paid, well, hey, I want to get paid. Oh, hey, I should get paid. I should get paid. And is that the case? We don't know. I don't quite think that's the case. I think, in my opinion, with Saquon, it's just more that he knows what he thinks he's worth, I guess is the way to say it, because you can't say he knows what he's worth, but what he feels he should get paid. And, that, like, man, I put the team on my back, that's not his saying, but, if we're going to go from good to great, they need me and they should pay me like that.
For sure. I mean, and like you said, with the locker room thing, like it definitely does send a message, like, or you would think it does. I've never been in an NFL locker room, but when you have somebody who produced, for however long, 4 years, 5 years, especially when they're almost synonymous with your team name over the most recent years, like Saquon has been, I think it does kind of send a message that, like, hey, they're not paying our stars. You know what I mean? Like, maybe I should be planning on playing elsewhere or something like that, But actually, that kind of leads me to, how this running back market, how it relates to the Packers. So obviously the Packers made a move this offseason by extending Aaron Jones a year and him taking a pay cut. So he was due to be about $20 million against the cap, which is enormous. It would have been the highest in the league, and they couldn't do it. So it seems like Aaron Jones had a choice that he can either restructure his deal and stay with the Packers, or he could test the market. But I think, he was listening to his counsel, and they were like, hey, listen, staying with the Packers is probably going to be the better deal. Because like I said earlier, I think the Packers are probably going to be the team that values him the most, just because of how productive he's been and how beloved he is by the team, by the fan base. And I think he made the right choice. Plus, honestly, Aaron Jones, he's not only been a great player on the field, but he's also been a great player and advocate for the Packers. And I mean, nobody's carried the G like Aaron Jones has over the last 5 years.
I'd miss the sombreros. I know that.
Yeah, for sure. So, Aaron Jones is special. I mean, he's one of the few running backs in the NFL that signed a big deal in the last 10 years, who's either stayed consistent with his play or gotten better. Jones, the entire time he's been on the team, has also been in a rotation in the backfield, which in my opinion is a good thing because it's helped his longevity. Like you were saying earlier with like Jonathan Taylor and with Derrick Henry, they have so many carries and they've taken so many hits. And it's one of the reasons why these running backs don't have long careers. Well, Aaron Jones, the entire time he's been in the league, in my opinion, he hasn't lost a step. I mean, if anything, he's aging like fine wine.
I think he's gotten better. It's wild.
That's what I'm saying. In my opinion, he had the best year of his career last year. He had, the most rushing yards. He had above average yards per carry. He didn't have his biggest receiving total, but like one of his biggest receiving totals in a year where they only won 8 games. I mean, like Aaron Jones, in my opinion, is one of those deals where you're going to look back at it and you're going to say, yeah, you probably shouldn't pay running backs unless it's Aaron Jones because you paid him and then you prospered. I mean, Aaron Jones has lived up to his contract. And at the time, I remember, like, I don't know if you remember that offseason when they were doing the contract negotiations with Aaron Jones. I really wanted Aaron Jones to stay because I'm a big Aaron Jones fan. How can you not be if you're a Packers fan, right? Yeah. But I was also concerned about how much they were going to be willing to pay him because I'm also of the belief that you shouldn't do like what the Cowboys did with Zeke, because Zeke, he was the face of the franchise at that time and they paid him an exorbitant amount of money. And this year the Cowboys couldn't wait to cut Zeke. They couldn't wait to get him off their salary cap. But I mean, Aaron Jones, you can argue that the potential for his earnings over his career are going to be greater because he's been in a committee and because he's, taken this pay cut and took an extension this year. He could end up making a lot more than he would have if he had gone the route that Saquon did, that Le'Veon Bell did, that Josh Jacobs has, because he's playing it a different way and he may have a longer career because of it.
No, I agree. I think, and it's going to differ from running back to running back, but the way that he's went about things has, made him, it just seems like that makes him more valuable than just on the field almost, it's that they got a guy that, and I don't want to say you're willing to take a hometown discount, which he kind of did, but, he knew.
He knew. That's the thing is
it doesn't matter what it doesn't matter how great I did or how great I'm going to do. I'm not getting paid this year. I'm not going to get, he took the pay cut to make he's probably making 15 million or whatever, between 12 and 15. I don't remember what the number is now, but I'm not going to get paid that somewhere else.
Right.
So, and I don't know, Dalvin Cook's going somewhere, and I think the betting market's saying he's going to the Patriots, I believe.
That would be interesting.
I thought that's what I read last, and I can look on my phone right now just to double check that, which I think that only helps Ramondre Stevenson, to be honest with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they'll be in a committee.
Yeah, and whether or not, okay, does it suck for fantasy? Sure. Yeah. But
it's just the reality of the NFL now.
Yeah, that's just, unfortunately it's how it is. And I don't know with the, what's Dalvin Cook going to get paid? Let's be honest. What do you think Dalvin Cook gets paid? Because I think he gets paid before, because they still, Saquon and Josh Jacobs can still reach a deal. I think, and there's something about that. What the heck is it? I just lost my train of thought about it. But
I think it was until today.
Well, I thought there was like a where they could change something for the year. I'd have to look. I could be completely wrong. For some reason, I thought I saw it on Twitter where I know the deadline for the long-term deal was that, but it's something like for like a 1-year deal, and that could be completely wrong. I could just be thinking I heard something, but when's Dalvin Cook going to sign, and for how much?
Right. Yeah. So I think I've seen the number around $8 million, but what's unique about that is it's less than the franchise tag. Yep. So like you're seeing all these running backs signing for less than the current franchise tag number, which kind of, it brings you back to that whole situation that Saquon and Josh Jacobs are in. And you're like, hey, I don't know if you've looked around the NFL, but all of your counterparts are signing for less money than you currently have on the table. Obviously, yeah, they don't want to sign a 1-year deal. They want to sign a multi-year deal and guarantee a lot more money than just 10 million. I mean, even if they were to sign like a 2-year 18 with 16 or 15 guaranteed, well, that 16 and 15 is a lot more than 10, because if one of them gets hurt this year and they're not able to sign an extension after, then they just left $5 or $6 million on the table. But that reminds me of like why the Packers were paying Aaron Jones in the first place. So if you look back, ever since that CBA I mentioned in 2011, right? So since 2011, the leading rusher for every single Green Bay Packers season has been on a rookie contract, except for Aaron Jones. Yeah. So in 2011, it was James Starks. 2012, Alexander Green. 2013 through 2015 was Eddie Lacy. 2016 was Ty Montgomery. And then, in 17, they had the draft with Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones, and Jamal Williams, because Mike McCarthy hated Aaron Jones for some reason. Jamal Williams led the team in 2017. And then from there on, Aaron Jones led. And I think Aaron Jones signed his contract in 2020 or 2021. So since then, it's been the Aaron Jones show, with that one exception of 2021, where AJ Dillon actually had like a couple more. So, yeah, I mean, Aaron Jones has been the only running back over the last 10 plus years for the Packers that's been on a second contract that led the team in rushing. So, I mean, the Packers are just like every other team out there. They've prioritized the position in the draft, but they haven't prioritized paying the running back. Now, I think if Eddie Lacy's career turned out a little different, with, how he ended up leaving the Packers and exiting the league, I think he would have earned a second contract, because he was unbelievable in 2013 and 2014. I mean, he was NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. 2014, he was even better. It just seemed like 2015, after that injury and he gained all that weight and stuff, that it just kind of, he just kind of played himself out of the league with his off the field stuff. But I think the Packers do prioritize the position, because I mean, they spent a second round pick on Eddie Lacy. They spent a second round pick on AJ Dillon. So they are using high draft capital.
What? I thought Lacy was like the end of the first round. Why do I think that?
He was in the second round.
That's right.
Was
I don't know why. Sorry,
right after Lev Bell.
Yep. And I was thinking, is you're naming those guys off too, it's almost once the committee thing started to happen, it's like it's almost made Aaron Jones better having that second guy, whether it was Jamal Williams or AJ Dillon. It's made him that much better. The fresh legs is huge. And Jamal Williams was awesome. I still love the guy. I'm excited to see him in New Orleans, but AJ Dillon has shown some very good things. You've also shown some things where you get a little left, a little more to desire, but I think he'll have I'm hoping for a good year. I don't know what his contract situation will be. I mean, it seems like maybe we move on from both guys. I don't know where we go from there.
Right. So that actually leads me to the last thing I wanted to talk about. So Aaron Jones has one more year left on his deal, but next year his cap hit's going to be 17 million, right? So we're right back to the same problem that we had this year, right? So he's earning less money than he was set to earn, but he's still earning a decent amount of money. I think it was either 10 or $12 million this year, which is on par with what he's been earning over the last couple of years. But next year they're in the same position. It's not 20 million, but it's 17 million against the cap. So they're either going to have to extend him again or they're going to cut him. And then this is AJ Dillon's last year on his contract. So what is the Packers running back situation going to look like next year? So I was going to ask you, do you think that Aaron Jones and or AJ Dillon are on this team next year?
I don't think Aaron Jones is. It hurts. And I hate, that's what I hate about it so much. Like you get invested in these guys, regardless of who it is, whether it's a safety or an offensive tackle or anybody, you love watching your guys succeed and you like the team, how it is, but obviously it's a business. So that's just part of it. But with the way that contract was restructured, moving 8 million or whatever it was, I just looked and I forgot already, 8 or 9 million to a signing bonus, and then next year's cap hit is this much. I don't think he will. I think if AJ Dillon performs well, that we could see another, maybe they sign him, maybe they offer him a contract that isn't, I don't think it could be anywhere near what Aaron Jones' contract was when they extended him, because AJ Dillon's not Aaron Jones. But I think he'll be cheaper unless Aaron Jones, he took a $5 million pay cut this year. Maybe he does it again. I don't know.
So I'm glad that you brought up AJ Dillon's value, because before we hopped on here, I was on Spotrac, and his calculated market value, take a guess.
About 2 million.
Average annual salary 4.6. So some of the salaries or comparable players that they had were Miles Sanders at 6.3 per year, David Montgomery at 6 per year, Kenyon Drake at 1 million per year, and Gus Edwards at 4.5. So if you average all of those together, that's 5.3. So somewhere in that 4.6 to 5.3 million per year. So maybe like a 3-year, $15 million deal with like 12 guaranteed, something like that.
Yep.
This is such a cop-out answer, but my answer to that question is I think it depends on how both of them play this year. Yeah. So Aaron Jones, in the sense that, hey, is he going to start falling off a cliff because he's getting older? Or AJ Dillon, is he finally going to show that he can be the RB1 of this team? And then they draft another rookie and then pay AJ Dillon and just recreate the same thing with one running back that you're paying and one that's on a rookie contract.
Yeah. And what's that? Was he on UDFA or maybe late around that? Lou, what's his name? Gosh darn it. I'm losing my mind today. One of the rookies they got, there's a couple you want to see, see what happens. I'm sure they'll be on the practice squad, but I don't know where they're going. It's wild just to think about, it's like they're both not on the team. Then like, where do you go from there? And I know you were saying it the other day, 2 years from now, the amount of cap space the Packers have is a wild number. Very, very high, but it's not like you see, I don't see the Packers signing a running back, like giving a guy a second deal that's not a guy that they drafted.
Right.
I don't really see that happening.
Yeah. I think the last time they did that was Ahmad Green,
it worked, but
yeah,
it was a different football game back then.
True
You
story.
know what I mean? I did pull up the numbers real quick for Dalvin Cook. Plus 150 to go to the Patriots, plus 200 to go to the Dolphins, plus 400 to the Jets, and then it's 15-1 for like 3 or 4 teams and 18-1 for a handful of teams. So pretty much Patriots, Dolphins. I guess you could throw the Jets in there too at 4-1.
Everyone's going to the Jets.
The Green Bay Jets or whatever.
Yeah, Green Bay East.
Yeah. It's just the AFC East is loading up regardless of where he goes. So I don't want him to go to the Dolphins. I don't like Mike McDaniel. Sorry, George. I don't think he's a good coach. He doesn't run the ball like he should. He let Skylar Thompson get his ass beat by the Bills for no reason. Right. Like, why are you throwing the ball 50 times with a rookie?
Because they have Tyreek Hill and Waddle.
Throw the ball 20 times to those guys and run the ball.
True story.
That kid did not need to be trying to throw the ball 50 times in Orchard Park in a playoff game. Anyways, doesn't matter. All right, so I guess my question is to you before we get out of here. 1, is Zeke going to get signed? Question 2, where's Dalvin Cook going? 3 and 4, Josh Jacobs and Saquon. Are they holding out? Or are they playing? What do you think?
All right. I don't think Zeke gets signed unless he goes back to the Cowboys. And it would be like because there was, I don't know, like a setback with Pollard or something like that. Or maybe he gets signed mid-season if like a running back goes down. He gets signed as like depth or something. What was the second question?
Where's Dalvin Cook going?
Dolphins. I think he's been linked to the Dolphins for months now.
Going home.
I don't know why it hasn't gotten done yet. I was honestly surprised when you said New England. But yeah, my guess before you even said the New England thing, I was going to say Dolphins. And then Josh Jacobs and Saquon. I don't think Josh Jacobs gets signed. I think Saquon works out a deal.
Do you think Jacobs holds out though?
Oh, the holdout. Yeah.
That was my question. Do you think they hold out? Sorry.
Yeah. So I think if one of them was going to hold out, it would be Saquon, because I think Saquon has more, excuse me, more of a leg to stand on than Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs was, he's a very good running back and he was very productive, but he led the league in rushing last year, but he's not really like the face of their franchise. You know what I mean? Where Saquon is like the first player you think of when you think New York Giants. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I think that,
I think of Isaiah Hodgins actually, but it's fine.
So yeah, I would think if one of the two of them were going to, I think it would be Saquon, especially because of his injury history. Why play and get hurt this year and destroy your value? Now, not Josh Jacobs had a couple of injuries too, but nothing like what Saquon did. But Saquon, the situation with Saquon is like when Saquon's on the field, the offense is substantially better.
I will say for Josh Jacobs, what he did with the team he was on is wild.
Yeah, super impressive. He had an
terrible offensive line, still kicking ass. It's like holy, because
100%.
To me, the first year, maybe even second year of his career, you were like, this guy kind of stinks. Like
well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, didn't it feel like it kind of came out of nowhere?
Yeah, and it wasn't.
Right.
And I think I would say, and I need to ask my dude Rich about it, but like the last 2 years felt like you were like, this guy's legit. Like he really solidified himself as a NFL running back. A top 10 guy or whatever the case is. And we definitely didn't mention that Joe Mixon signed, and I just thought of that for some reason. I feel bad just saying that now.
Oh, right. Yeah, he took a pay cut too.
Yeah, but same thing. Once win Super Bowl. I think it's different the teams you're on,
for sure.
Whether Saquon, I don't think he's like, hey, we're not going to win a Super Bowl, so just give me money. But some guys, everybody wants to win Super Bowl. Everybody thinks you can, but we know there's only a few legit contenders, I guess you would say. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if Saquon were smart, he would see the cautionary tale of the Le'Veon Bell situation.
That is not a good idea to hold out. But I
wouldn't hold out.
I don't want to see that. I don't think nobody wants to see that. I want him to get paid. I hope he does.
Yeah. What do you think they were offering him?
What I read somewhere, it was like 12 to
That's
13
so
million.
much. How did he turn that down? That's so much money compared to
Yeah.
how much everybody else is making now.
That's the thing. Then that's when you look at Dalvin Cook, the guy, and I'm not comparing Miles Sanders. I don't think he's worth a gosh darn, but
Right.
Miles Sanders, Dave Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, they're not on the same level as Dalvin Cook, but they're good running backs that are going to have a spot on the team. They're going to, granted they went to teams, not necessarily the Panthers. They only have like Chuba Hubbard, I think. But like, DeAndre Swift went somewhere where it's Rashad Penny, who's probably going to get hurt. Kenny Gainwell and him, and then Jalen Hurts, went somewhere where, and, Montgomery goes to the Lions with multiple guys. And if Dalvin Cook goes to the Dolphins, multiple guys. Same with, even every team we listed, they have two guys. I'm not going to say the Dolphins have great guys, but they have a committee of guys that are serviceable and did fine.
Yep.
But yeah, the amount of money they offered Saquon was a lot, and they don't have much behind him.
No,
as far as depth pieces for the running back spot. So.
Right. They're one of the few teams in the NFL that uses their running back like a bell cow. It's them, the Titans. I guess you can argue San Francisco once they traded for CMC.
I would say the Raiders were part of it last year.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And to me, the Vikings were. Alexander Madison was like an afterthought to me, and there were games where he was in that he played more, but it wasn't like a true two-back system, I guess you would call it. But
they don't split them as evenly as like the Packers do.
No. So with the question I asked you with Zeke, I think it would be wise for them to sign him in Dallas. I think they could probably talk him into a little more team-friendly deal. Otherwise, yes, if somebody gets injured down the road, I think Zeke's still got a little left in the tank. He's not going to run the ball around the outside. We know that.
Yeah.
But short yards, give him the ball.
Sure.
I think Dalvin Cook goes to the Patriots. I think if he was going to go to the Dolphins, he already would be there.
That's a good point.
And I think Jacobs and Saquon, I think they both play. I hope something gets done just because being somebody that's listened to Rodgers saga BS, but like, you don't want that, weighing over your head going into the season. So that's kind of where I'm at with those guys anyways, but you got anything else for us?
No, I'm just very curious how the Packers running back situation is going to look next year. Honestly, I hope Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon are both still on the team, but it's probably not realistic. No. Unless Aaron Jones restructures his contract to make substantially less towards the end of his career. Because, like, if you think about it right now, like Jones making 12 and AJ making like 1.3, we'll round that up to 14. If they're paying Aaron Jones next year 7 and AJ Dillon 6, well, it's the same amount of money that they're spending. You know what I mean? Like AJ just making more and Aaron Jones is making a little bit less. You know what I mean? So like, I guess there is technically a world where it could work.
Yep.
But it's just, in my opinion, probably unlikely, which is unfortunate.
Well, Aaron Jones is 28 years old. He's soon to be 29 years old.
30's that magic number.
Yeah. So we'll see. And I'd love for him to retire Packer. And I know it's weird to even talk about him retiring, but I didn't realize when I was looking at like on Spoke Track, I was like, he's almost 30. Like,
it's unbelievable. I remember when he got drafted.
I know. I
love it.
But thanks for tuning in. We're getting so much closer. You can almost feel it. Check out all our shows we're doing throughout the week. Hit the like and subscribe. We'd appreciate that. I will be recording a show tomorrow night, Friendly Fire, with my guy Justin. It's all about Rival Fantasy, which is one of our partners. So check them out. Rivalfantasy.com. I think /Toilets Titles gets you a free $25 when you deposit. They're matching up to $200, so you can get $225. I've been playing on there quite a bit. It's unlike anything you've played as far as fantasy or gambling. So check it out. Check the show out. I think it releases Thursday morning, so we'll kind of get into it a little more, the different games they offer. So check that out. Check out all the rest of our shows. Hit the like and subscribe, and check out toiletstyles.com and our Patreon, patreon.com/toiletstyles. We will see you next week. Thanks again.